All right. Welcome to a brand new podcast, Generational Talent. Um, my name is Chris Ross, and I'm doing this podcast with my two sons, Matthew Ross, Ethan Ross. And basically, we just wanted to come to you because we sit around and talk sports all the time, mainly football. We love sports. We all have different teams. As you can see, I'm a big Patriots fan. Um, my kids grew up different fans of different teams. We also have my son-in-law, their brother-in-law, who might join us occasionally, who is a Cowboys fan. Let's not hold that against him. So hopefully we get him on here sometime soon. He's got a brand new baby, so we understand. Um, but basically, the reason that we wanted to come to you is because, like I said, we'll sit around the kitchen table, the pool, car rides, and we just talk sports and we talk about different topics and top fives and that sort of thing. So I said, why don't we just do a podcast? We can do this together. We can do it online and we can share everything with the public. So we're going to go to my oldest son, Matthew, big Rams fan, LA Rams, and let him introduce himself.
So I'm Chris's eldest son, Matthew. I have been an LA fan for a long time, and this year slightly not as good. We had high expectations going into the year, but some injuries have really plagued us really hard this year. But as Dad said, I'm really looking forward to just being able to have these conversations in an open forum. Where everybody can see, because our conversations end up going on for hours and hours, talking about different sports. As Dad alluded to, specifically football. But I am very excited to start this.
Now we're going to talk to my actual middle son, Ethan, who, yes, his team is probably doing the best out of all of us. Unfortunately, just beat Aaron Rodgers and the Jets the other night, and just got a big acquisition, which we're going to talk about. But this is Ethan. Ethan, tell everybody what's on your mind.
Look. I want to say, first off, no one won the Bills versus Jets game. That was terrible. But just want to say we're looking good. Bills are looking good throughout the year. My name is Ethan, and throughout the year,
I can tell you who won that game. It was the goalposts.
Yeah.
They definitely won that game.
For sure.
So state of the NFL, we're through 6 weeks. What has surprised you guys the most about this season so far?
I can go first. I think Jaden Daniels is the next Lamar Jackson. I think in 2 to 3 years he will be the next Lamar Jackson. I think the way he can just be mobile and hit dimes is game changing. I think in my opinion, I think he has a true chance to be a rookie MVP, which we haven't had for a long time. If he can keep the form up through the next 10 weeks, 11 weeks.
That's strong. I will say Jaden has been definitely a pleasant surprise for all the Washington fans. They definitely, they've been in a desert for years when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, they had RG3 for basically a season, and then they screwed up Kirk Cousins so bad that he took 2 franchise tags and left town. So yeah, I'm happy for Commanders fans, Redskin fans, whatever you want to say. Ethan, what do you think is a pleasant surprise? Something that's shocked you?
I mean, I think just as far as the defense has won the battle, the defense has won the battle as far as the points scored, just low scoring games. The offenses have been shut down as throughout the NFL. Just you see the Bengals, they haven't put up many points. Even the crappier teams in the league, they really haven't been producing many points. Where even 2020, you saw the big rise of points, 26 points per game. So that's my big surprise. The defense winning the battle. The offense has really been shut down this year.
I can tell you my biggest surprise, and a team that I picked to come in last in their division, is the Minnesota Vikings, led by Sam I see Ghost Darnold. And trust me, as a Patriots fan, I'm happy for him. But don't get me wrong, he was on one of the worst organizations. He was drafted by one of the worst organizations in the NFL, the Jets, who we're going to talk about here in a minute. But if they can screw things up, they're going to do it. I mean, the Jets are going to jet, and but I'm very excited and happy for Vikings fans. A team that hasn't been to the Super Bowl since the '70s when they went to 4. They really should have went to the Super Bowl Randy Moss's rookie year when Anderson missed a kick at the end of the game. I know Vikings fans don't want to hear that, but that's a team that's been a pleasant surprise. Who do you think's been the biggest disappointments?
The Jags.
Yeah, Jacksonville by far. I mean, Cleveland too, but Jacksonville because they had the potential.
Yeah, I think Cleveland, I kind of suspected Cleveland. I mean, they did well last year. I think a lot of that was because of their all-star defense. But that's hard to keep year to year. It's hard to, teams learn your defenses and get better. But I think Deshaun Watson's a joke. I think he is a bottom. There are 32 quarterbacks better than him. I think he is a backup.
50 better.
Yeah, I think he is a glorified. He is a what's his deal? Like $140 million.
$230 million guaranteed.
It might be the worst deal of sports franchise history.
I agree.
It's horrible.
So
worst
I think
trade in NFL history.
No, I agree. I think so. That's kind of why I think Cleveland isn't as big of a disappointment because they were always going to be bad. But I think the Jags, like Trevor Lawrence, got this brand new big contract. They were signing some good pieces, and they've just come out of the gate.
I don't think it's as much Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has struggled, but that defense is terrible.
Yeah.
Drake May might throw for 400 yards in London. We're hoping. But I mean, their pass rush, they've got 2 good pass rushers who have sucked. And, and it's funny because Doug Peterson said the other day, like, they need a culture change.
But that's his job.
Well, don't you run? Isn't that your job? Yeah, to install the culture. I mean, it's one thing, like when Dan Snyder owned the Redskins, their culture was terrible, but that came from him down. And as you can see now, they've sold the team. He sold the team, and the culture is completely different, and they're winning. But at the end of the day, the Jags to me are probably the biggest disappointment. They were 7-3 last year when Trevor Lawrence got hurt, and he probably needed to take a week or 2 off. He came back too quick. They've won 2 games since then. Yeah. So they were in first place in the AFC when he got hurt. And they've done nothing but gone downhill and disappoint, and it's very frustrating. I know they just Ethan just sent that message today where they're getting a new stadium. Really, They're just redoing the stadium that they've got. Be interesting to see where they play because they can't play there for 2 years. I think they might. They might play at the University of Florida. Well, they might play at the University of Florida, which is not far away. Gainesville is not far from Jacksonville, but it'll be interesting. So. I've had a couple trades this week.
Big time trades.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was young, we never had any trades really during the season. Now the trade deadline was much earlier than it is now, but now you have teams that are struggling, like we talked about, and they're dumping players, and it's a little bit like the NBA where. Some of these players are sort of dictating where they want to do, where they want to go and who they want to play with and that sort of thing. But Davante Adams to the Jets, does that what does that do to the Jets? How does that change their dynamic? Does that help, hurt? Are the Jets going to jet? What do you think?
I think it can only help. I mean, it's a Green Bay duo reunion. They were. I mean, Rodgers had 3 MVPs in Green Bay. Now, not all of them were with Davante Adams, but um, he's. I think their chemistry is they're
But he
going
had
to
four MVPs.
4 MVPs.
Yeah, 4
Uh,
MVP.
I think they're gonna come out. They're gonna come out the gate with great chemistry already, and they're gonna light it up. But with that being said, I don't know if the Jets are Super Bowl contenders even with that. I think the organization is just a losing organization, and they. I mean, the fact that they fired Robert Saleh is just crazy to me. His side of the ball was not the side of the ball that was failing. It was very.
Hey, listen,
the defense was great.
Listen, you can't tell me that 12 hours before they fire Robert Saleh, the owner, Woody Johnson, calls Aaron Rodgers to have a conversation about his injury, and none of that comes up, and 12 hours later, Saleh gets fired, and Aaron Rodgers had nothing to do with that. I know he says he didn't, and he's offended by that or whatever else, but you know what? He said stuff in the past that comes out to be untruthful before. And this is the thing. I used to love Aaron Rodgers. I think he is probably one of the purest players at that position I've ever seen. With what he can do, throwing the ball, putting it in, spaces and everything else. But as I've gotten to know him, seeing him on McAfee, different things, he is just not the same person to me that he was, and that's fine. It's just some of the luster's just rubbed off for me. But I do think that that if they can create that chemistry right out of the gate, and Garrett Wilson is now not getting double teamed on every play, he's still going to be the number. I feel like Wilson's still the number one. Adams still, maybe 1A, and it's going to be hard to cover them both. And then, I think Mike Williams is the odd man out, and he's probably ended up going out the door. If I were Kansas City, I'd be making a call.
I don't think Davante Adams slips. I don't think Davante Adams slips.
Probably not.
He catches that ball. Ethan, as somebody who just played the Jets, do you think Davante Adams would have changed that game? Do you think you would have lost that game if the Jets had Davante Adams?
I mean, with us, getting into the next section, I'm sure with Cooper, we could talk that, but yeah, I mean, Adams being on the Jets definitely changes it, but the Jets are going to jet at the end of the day. They're going to somehow find a way to screw it up, mess it up. But I think they're on the at least I thought they were on the way for a culture change until they fired Saleh. And that was just such a surprise and such a shock that it completely derails what they were on. So I feel like right now they're kind of just a boat drifting a sea, kind of lost, and, don't know what they're going to do. But Adams definitely helps improve the wide receiver position, helps improve Garrett. He's going to train him up a little bit, hopefully. But we'll see. We'll see what it does.
You talked a little bit about your team. Cleveland trades Cooper to the Bills. Does that put them in Super Bowl contention? Does that put them over the top? Because at the end of the day, he doesn't play defense. And me and you were at that game, and the Bills could not stop King Henry from running right up the gut. So you tell me.
Well, it's going to improve the offense for sure, but yeah, the defense is still a liability at the end of the day. So, we've gotten a little healthy with getting Teron Johnson back, but, you know, we're going to have to get over the hump of the defense before we get any better. You know, we can go out there and score 40 points, but if the other team's scoring 50, it doesn't matter. So I think it puts us up there with contenders, but, you know, Kansas City's still out there. Mahomes is still, you know, he's still the best in the league. He's still the crowned king, but it definitely gives us a chance. So I'm feeling a little more comfortable, feeling a little better going into it. What do you guys think, though?
I mean, I think he definitely helps because they've got a very young receiving core, and I mean the veterans that they do have are not number ones. And trust me, I was very upset when you guys traded up to get Keon Coleman. I really wanted him bad in New England, and he's got the potential to be an absolute stud. You know, if he can come into his own, and he's got, you know, one of the top quarterbacks throwing to him, and you know, and that's the other thing. This year, I don't know if you realize this, Josh Allen doesn't have an interception. You know, that's very uncharacteristic for Josh Allen. He does have one fumble, but he doesn't have an interception. So at the end of the day, like, I think Cooper definitely helps. It depends on how quickly you can get there, get to know the playbook, get some chemistry. You know, Adams and Rodgers already have that chemistry. They already have they can just look at each other and know exactly what to do. You know, hey, I'm going back corner fade and that sort of thing, where it's, you know, it might take a couple of weeks to get Cooper and Allen on that path. But I think, unlike Stephon Diggs, who to me was just a cancer and a selfish player, you know, Cooper's not that guy. And I think he's probably super happy to be the hell out of Cleveland and that shit show.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, one trade that I think could happen is the Lions. I think they're going to try and go after a edge rusher. I think it could be. I think honestly the Cowboys could get rid of Micah Parsons. But I also think that the Raiders. I think what's his name?
Max Crosby.
Max Crosby, yeah, but Brad Holmes is the GM for the Lions, and he was a part of some big trades in LA when he was one of the executives in LA. He helped us get Jalen Ramsey. He helped us get Matthew Stafford, some big trades in LA. And I think that, the Lions are on the edge. I think they are probably, 1, 2, or 3 in the NFC. They're definitely there. And losing, I mean, you could see the Lions players were just emotional when they lost Aiden Hutchinson.
Oh, well, it was a terrible injury.
He's the heart. He's the heart of the defense. He's such a passionate player.
Yeah, he's from Michigan, played at Michigan, and he's the best player in that defense.
But I think if you're Brad Holmes, I think you could call up Las Vegas and say, hey, we'll offer 2 number ones for Max Crosby, who also played in Michigan in college. He played in a small school in Michigan in college.
Yeah.
And I think, a first, 2 firsts or a first and a second, and you get another dynamic edge rusher. And then next year you get Aiden Hutchinson comes back.
Best in the league. Best edge rusher.
I mean, if you're Detroit and you want to go all in, then yeah, maybe you do that. But you want to give up your future for Crosby, who I think is one of the top 5 best pass rushers in this league.
Look, I mean, I think the Lions are in a position where a lot of their star players are young. If you look at a lot of them, they are young, and they're in the position, you can give up some of that draft capital to go after someone like Crosby, because it puts you in a position where it put the Rams in a position to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, think about the Lions winning a Super Bowl. Think about how Detroit would just go ballistic. Even if they got to a Super Bowl, they would go ballistic.
I mean, they've never even been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So
and the city of Detroit is starving for that, and
I think the
They
Lions
should
are
they
ready.
should have went last year. They were up 10 points in the fourth quarter, and
I think the
screwed
Lions
it up.
are ready and primed to get to the Super Bowl, and I think they would be a tough out for Kansas City, Buffalo, or the Ravens, that's who I'm assuming is going to get there.
Up and down, they have the roster. I think
Yeah.
they are Super Bowl ready for sure.
I mean, they have a great running back duo, which elevates their Jared Goff, who I think is a good quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback, but it elevates him. They've got a great number one wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best the best offensive lineman in Penei Sewell. And they had one of the best defensive players in the league, and they lost him. I think they just, if they can get a new defensive edge rusher back, they can.
Well, in defensive edge rushing, defensive pressure is so big in the NFL too, because it creates interceptions, it creates bad passes, it creates short losses on the rush side. So they need to get someone to replace him to be able to compete.
I mean,
people are
sacks
going to
are
run down their
important.
throats. I mean, it's not going to happen. So
Sacks are important, but just quarterback pressure is one of the biggest factors. Because if you get to the quarterback, you sack him, that's great. But just pressure can disrupt everything on an offense. And the quicker you can get to a quarterback, the quicker you can get around him, make him move off his spot, make him rush his throw, make him, quicken him up. It makes the biggest difference on defense.
Well, and a star player on defense like that. I mean, think about Aaron Donald. Donald, he had a lot of sacks. Usually he had 10, 12 sacks in a year. But that was being double teamed or triple teamed. So because one player gets double teamed or triple teamed, I understand edge rushers are slightly different, that they don't get that double teams as often. Aaron Donald was shooting it up right through the middle most of the time. But it opens up lanes for other players. It opens up, when Aaron Donald's on the team, the Rams, the other defensive players shined because they were getting those one-on-ones that they could use. So I think
if you have Max Crosby and Hutchinson comes back, then you put him on either side.
Yeah,
and it's and there's a very chance that if they make it to the Super Bowl, he could come back.
Yeah.
Max Crosby's not like the 15th best edge rusher in the league.
No.
He's top 3, top 5. He is
He's
really
definitely
good.
top 5.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you get in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City, he loves to fuck with Mahomes.
Oh,
he does.
There's a rival.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Lions, turn our page to week 7. Big matchup this week. NFC North, which is probably, I don't even think you can argue right now, the best division in football. Every team's got a winning record. You've got a big matchup this week with Lions and Vikings. Lions, obviously coming off a blowout win off of the, god-awful Cowboys. Vikings coming off a bye after they took down the Jets in London. King of the North, who's it going to be? Lions or Vikings? I feel like this is going to be probably the best game of the weekend, in my opinion.
I think it's going to be the Vikings. I think they're coming off a bye week. Aiden Hutchinson's out. They don't have to worry about him as much. And the Lions are good, but their secondary is still not the best. There's definitely their weakness last year. It definitely improved, but it's still not the best. And I think that, Justin Jefferson might just slice right through him. He's been looking rejuvenated and just lights out. Number 1 wide receiver in the league for sure.
I think he's the number 1 wide receiver in the league.
Yeah, I do too.
What's your thought? What's your take, Z?
I mean, the Vikings have been on a run this year, but I'm probably going to take the Lions in this one. I'm not going to doubt their offense with how powerful it is. I think they could go out there and easily outscore the Vikings. You know, they have JJ, but if you look at their rushing game, I know they got someone, but it's still not great. So I think the Lions can go out there and easily outscore them. And I think the Lions do have a decent secondary. You know, they can go out there and compete. JJ is the best wide receiver in the league, but you know, they don't have too many. Jordan Addison hasn't been doing great this year. So I think the Lions will end up taking this, maybe a rally win for Aiden. But
I always look at it this way. I mean, to me, it's kind of a toss-up game, and I always tend to take the better quarterback. Now, is Jared Goff better than Sam Darnold? I think he is right now. I mean, history shows that he's a better quarterback. I mean, he's been to a Super Bowl when he was young. He's went to the NFC Championship game last year. Sam Darnold is still Sam Darnold. And I just feel like as great as he's playing, and I think he's playing way out of his mind, I'm still kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop. And is this going to be the week? Now, do I think that the Lions are going to blow out the Vikings? No, but I do feel like the Lions I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. It's not going to be a defensive struggle. And when I say higher scoring, like 34, 31, something along those lines. But I feel like the Lions, I know it's in Minnesota, but I think the Lions, like you said, are going to rally around Hutchinson.
I definitely don't think it's going to be a blowout.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
Another big matchup this weekend. Two of the best young quarterbacks in the league, Texans at the Packers. Texans coming off a resounding victory over my Patriots, even though Drake May did show us some hope, much like Luke Skywalker, you know, bringing hope back to the Force, you know, taking us out of the dark side. Jordan Love, you know, after missing 2 games with a knee injury, has thrown the second most touchdown passes in the NFL so far, even though he missed 2 games. Texans at Packers. What's your all's thoughts on this one?
Okay.
Go ahead, E.
I mean, look, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a shootout. You know, you're going to see 2 young quarterbacks go at it. You know, I think CJ is the better quarterback out of the 2, so I'm going to take Houston out of it. Look, I think both of the defenses are playing well this year. Houston is playing a little bit better. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be high-scoring, 30 points at least on each side.
I think this is another one of those toss-up games. It's at Green Bay, so you know they definitely got an edge with the crowd there. And I think the quarterbacks are relatively comparable. I think they're both some of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. But I'll take Green Bay's run game over Houston's run game. Houston really hasn't been able to generate a run game very much this season. I'd like to see Josh Jacobs get his first ever receiving touchdown. He's never had one yet. Now, you know, he's been in the league for 7 years or something like that, 5, 6, 7 years, somewhere in that range. Now, not only do I want to see that because I own him in fantasy, but also because that would be cool to see that. But the biggest thing for me is I think the coaching. I think Matt LaFleur is offensive coach, and I think he's going to dial up some plays. I mean, I got to see what Matt LaFleur did against the Rams. Even though Matt LaFleur was Sean McVay, he's part of Sean McVay's tree. You know, I don't think Sean McVay's ever beaten them. And I think Sean McVay personally, not only as a Rams fan, but as just an NFL fan, is one of the best offensive coaches in the league. And Matt LaFleur, you know, is he knows how to dial up the plays. And I think that is going to be a big mismatch.
Well, I first of all, I picked the Packers to go to the Super Bowl. So, which, you know, they're completely still in it at 4-2, but also I think Jordan Love is a better quarterback than CJ Stroud. Up and down. I think CJ being a rookie and doing what he did was phenomenal, but I think at the end of the year, I think as long as they both stay healthy, Jordan Love will have a better statistical season than C.J. Stroud. Houston, their running game has struggled, but they got Mixon back last week, and that was a big boost to that offense. And their defense, I mean, trust me, our offensive line is the worst. I think there's UFFL lines that are better than the Patriots line right now. I mean, it's like a screen door in a windstorm. It just keeps blowing wide open. And I wanted Drake May to go in really bad. I think he should have went in a week before against Miami. He held up against Houston, but Houston's defense is legit.
Yeah.
But the Packers' defense is good too. Their secondary is really good.
And I think they're getting Jair Alexander back.
Yeah, and they're ball hawks.
And he's been stepping up.
Yeah.
So
and,
I feel like in this game, the Lambeau is different. I mean, I've been there. It's a different environment, and it's one of those like C.J. Stroud. I don't know if he's going to be ready. I think it's going to be a really good game, but I got the Packers in that one. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring. I think it's going to be probably in the 20s, 27, 21, something like that. But I feel like this is going to be the Packers to win. Last game we can talk about real quick. Super Bowl rematch. Chiefs team that's 5-0 with even though the offense has struggled. Mahomes has the same amount of interceptions as Will Levis at 6. Believe it or not.
6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, I'm pretty sure.
Against the Niners, who are slowly getting healthy, and my boy Brock Purdy. I love that kid so much. He's like my fourth son. And everybody shits on him all the time, and I'm like, the kid he's a gamer. He's got moxie. In San Francisco, Super Bowl rematch. What do you think about that one?
I mean, I think this is the game of the week for sure. I think this is when the Niners kind of
over the Lions and the Vikings?
Yeah, over the Lions and Vikings, game of the week. I think this is where the Niners get a little more momentum, getting healthy, getting back into it, stomp the Chiefs going into it. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring of a game. I think maybe 2010, 13-20, something like that, in that range. But look, Mahomes has been struggling with the wide receiver core he has. Hollywood Brown getting hurt the way he did not do anything for them. And then Rashid Rice getting hurt as well. They're down to their third string wide receivers there. And then Travis Kelce looks like
it does like
Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, well, Xavier Worthy. I mean, he's looking good.
Well, he's kind of a gadget guy.
Yeah,
I think he's going to have to not be a gadget guy going forward. I think for the Chiefs to make this three-peat, I think they should get on the phone and maybe even call the Rams and try and get Cooper Kupp.
I've heard he might be on the trading block.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised at that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a big trade incoming for Kansas City. But look, their defense is still solid. So it's not going to be crazy scoring. But the Niners have a high-powered offense going into it, even without CMC. Debo's been producing. Brandon Ayuk, he's been struggling a little bit because of the holdout.
Last couple games, he's played much better.
I think he's still a star, so hopefully he gets back into it, and this might be the game. So
and Jordan Mason, he's not CMC, but he's definitely
in that offense, any running back will do, pretty much.
Well, CMC is a different talent, and he can do different things, like catching out of the backfield or whatever. But Jordan Mason, and when you have who I think is the best left tackle in the game blocking for you, and Trent Williams, that doesn't hurt either. Matthew, what do you think?
Their defense.
I think the Chiefs have had one of the best defenses in the league this year, if not the best. It's carried over from last year. and
They're very young.
they're very young. And like, you know, when the Chiefs lost Snead, their cornerback, I thought, man, that's a big loss. Like that could really impact their defense. It doesn't even feel like it impacts them at all. It feels like
Well,
they're just as good as they were last year. And I
you
think,
probably got arguably the best defensive lineman in the game in Chris Jones.
and you have one of the best defensive coaches in the game.
Yeah.
And so I truly think Andy Reid has Shanahan's number. I think that this is going to be a Chiefs game. I think it might be close. It might be, a touchdown. It might be 4 points. But I think it's going to be more than a field goal. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. I think that San Francisco's offense is going to struggle against that defense. I think I think Kansas City's defense is going to work some magic. And I mean, I think Kareem Hunt has looked great. I mean, he's played 1 or 2 games now, and he's looked really good. He hasn't really played this well since he was in Kansas City before. When he went to Cleveland, he was sitting behind Nick Chubb most of the time. So he got some touches, but Nick Chubb was obviously the main back. Now I feel like in Kansas City until Pacheco gets back, I feel like they've got a pretty good running back in Kareem Hunt that could open up some lanes and relieve some pressure from Patrick Mahomes so he can dial up some plays.
I look at it this way. I've picked against the Chiefs one too many times. You got to beat the man to be the man, and the 49ers have failed to do that over and over again. I would love to see the 49ers win this game, but I'm not picking against the Chiefs. They've been winning with smoke and mirrors so far this year. Now, I mean, they beat the shit out of the Saints, but before, they should have lost to the Ravens. They should have lost to the Bengals. As a Patriots fan, I can understand everybody saying that they get every call, but when you're good, you get calls because you get put in those positions and they get highlighted. I'm not picking against the Chiefs.
I agree, and I think when you have the best quarterback in the league, the best coach in the league, and either the 1 or 2 best defense in the league, you can't pick against them. It's crazy. I mean, they're gonna be in contention all the way. As long as Patrick Mahomes stays healthy, they're gonna be in contention all the way.
Last year was the year to beat them, and you couldn't beat them.
And
Look,
you say that all these teams should have beat them, but they didn't. They didn't. Ravens should have beat them, but they didn't beat them. And Chiefs just know, just like the Patriots, they know how to pull these games out.
Shanahan is going to dial something up. He's going to cook something up, beat the Chiefs, because someone's got to. Look, they're coming in too hot with too weak of a roster.
And the Chiefs are coming off a bye, too. So you got to take that in consideration, too. Andy Reid, with time, is by far the best offensive coach in the league. With time, Andy Reid he does magic with play calling.
Listen, I like I said, I want to see him lose. I want to see him just, and I understand it because people used to hate on the Patriots every year for 20 years and never wanted to see him in the Super Bowl again. So I understand it, but I respect him. I don't like him, but you got to beat the man to be the man. And there's only 2 quarterbacks. No, 1 quarterback in the NFL right now that has beaten Mahomes in the playoffs. Joe Burrow. Other than that, nobody else has beaten him in the playoffs. So that's the way I look at it. All right. So real quick, talk a little bit about some dark horse MVPs. So give me 2 or 3 people that maybe at the beginning of the year nobody thought about, and somebody that we feel like could get some MVP votes. Or is an MVP? Maybe look at it this way: through 6 weeks, they're MVP of the league.
I'll take some crazy crazy shots at it, but I think Daniel Jones should get some votes for sure.
The Derp Jr.
No. Jalen Daniels should get some votes.
Jaden
For
Daniels.
sure. Because CJ Stroud, he got the same love. So if you don't give him the same love as he gave CJ Stroud, then I think that's a little absurd because he's been performing as a rookie quarterback, producing very well, so I'll take him. And then I'll take what I think is kind of crazy. We haven't seen a defensive MVP in years. I know it's a quarterback position, but we need a defensive MVP. So I'm going to take TJ Watt. He has produced in Pittsburgh. He has kept them in the playoff contention for year after year. So I think he deserves it. He's been in the top sack leader year after year, producing 19 and a half sacks. That's incredible. So I'm going to take some crazy candidates, but, they definitely deserve it.
Matthew?
I was going to say Jaden Daniels. As I said at the beginning of the episode, I think that Jaden Daniels is definitely if he plays like he does until the end of the year, he is going to be in contention for it. But since Ethan already said it, I'll take some different ones. One, I think Caleb Williams. I think if he keeps improving as he is, the run game's definitely there. The offensive line looks better, and with a run game and a good offensive line, a rookie quarterback can do way better. And I think that if at the end of the year the Chicago Bears are in the playoffs, look good, maybe even second in the division, I think he could definitely be an MVP candidate. Another one is Sam Darnold. Obviously, he's looked super good through the first 6 weeks. That's kind of obvious in my opinion. But one that I think everybody always puts him in MVP conversations, but then he kind of falls off in the year and then he comes back. He's always up and down. I think that's Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen this year, and I don't think people expected him to be able to do as much. He didn't have the wide receivers. He didn't have the weapons. The running game definitely looked better at the end of last year, but wasn't phenomenal. And I think what he's been able to do with the limited amount of utility that he's had, he should definitely be in conversation as well.
I mean, I think Darnold, I think this week will be a big big determination on where he's at, big barometer. I mean, I was going to say Jordan Love, but Willis came in and won 2 games. So,
yeah,
is how much of it is, I love Jordan Love. I think he's potential to take that team deep into the playoffs, but how much of it is the system, coaching, whatever. A guy that I will be honest with you, I did not like in college, being a West Virginia fan, but I've loved him ever since he got into the NFL, and I think he deserves a lot of love, is Baker Mayfield. And what he's doing in Tampa, they're just boat racing people. They should have beat Atlanta. That was just a fluky game at the end.
Divisional game.
Divisional game. Atlanta was at home. I don't blame that really on Baker. They destroyed the Eagles. It's just, that's a whole nother thing we can talk about at another date. But the Eagles are just imploding, which I love to see because I can't stand freaking anything from Philadelphia. 5 good things ever came out of Philadelphia. I'll do that one day. Baker Mayfield, I think you gotta give him his love. There's Mahomes is always going to get his, but he's just not playing that well right now. I'd love to see a defensive player get it one day. I just don't ever think it's going to happen. But yeah, here's another thing. The top 3 quarterbacks taking in the draft, I don't know what order, but they'll finish 1, 2, and 3 in Rookie of the Year voting. Do you agree or disagree?
I'd agree with that.
Disagree. Malik Neighbors, if he gets healthy and produces again, could end up being, in the top.
I think it depends on how.
Well, and Marvin Harrison too. I feel like we haven't even seen what Marvin Harrison really has.
You haven't seen what Drake May has.
All right.
Yeah, I think we need to see what Drake May is. I think number 1 and number 2 will definitely be number 1 and number 2, depending on the order. But I could see Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison being number 3.
Marvin Harrison hasn't done as much as I expected. I got him in every fantasy league I'm in.
But Malik Neighbors has lit it up.
Yeah.
He looks like a real number 1.
And if he had a real quarterback thrown to him.
Oh my God.
But I'm just calling my shot. 1, 2, and they're going to finish 1, 2, and 3 in voting. I don't know what order, but you just wait.
It's a new age. Quarterbacks run the awards, so I don't think you're wrong, but I hope to see different. That's all.
That's because you're a Bills fan. All right, so we're going to do a little fun segment. At the end of every podcast, we're going to do a top 5 ranking. Now, this could be top 5, quarterbacks in the NFL, top 5. Could come to movies or entertainment or anything like that. But today we're going to start off our first episode, top 5 fast food French fries. And we're going to go from 5 to 1. So who wants to start?
I can start. I think at number 5, I'm not a big fan of waffle fries. So I think Chick-fil-A's got to go number 5. I think they're still good. They're still, especially when you get the crispy ones, they're really good. But, some of the ones where you feel like you're eating a whole potato, just not my cup of tea. Next has got to be Burger King. I don't go to Burger King very often, but when I do, I do usually enjoy their fries.
I'll put it this way: when I go to Burger King, I get their onion rings.
Yeah, for sure.
I like Burger King's fries, but not as much as the other 3. Number 3 is going to be Wendy's. I think Wendy's fries are kind of underrated in the fry business. They're usually pretty salted, which is nice. Nice having good salted fry. Number 2 is going to be, I think, might be surprising to some people. I'm going to put McDonald's at number 2. I think McDonald's fries just overall, it's hard to mess up McDonald's fries. The only time you feel like you're eating a bad fry from McDonald's is if it's cold. But if it's hot and fresh and it's got that salt on it, it's hard to beat that. But at number 1 has got to be, as an East Coast guy, it's got to be Five Guys. Five Guys French fries are unbeatable. You put a little bit of malt vinegar on those things. You could just go to town on those. You could have a whole meal just with Five Guys French fries. They're so good. So that's my top 5. Chick-fil-A, Wendy's. Chick-fil-A, Burger King, Wendy's, McDonald's, Five Guys.
All right, Ethan.
All right. You stole my number 1 for sure, which is Five Guys. Being on the East Coast, you got to try it. Definitely with some vinegar if you are into that. But after that, I'll probably say McDonald's. They have a solid fry, like you said. As long as they're not cold, they're good. They're always consistent, pretty good. So after that, I have a little bit of surprise. I like Arby's crinkle fry. I'm into that. I don't know.
They almost made my list.
Crazy, but yeah, I'll get a crinkle fry here and there. After that, I'd probably put the Chick-fil-A waffle fry. It's pretty good, especially if you were to put the sauce into the conversation. That's maybe top 2, but just fry top 4. And then after that, I'd probably put Wendy's just because they do have an underrated fry, like Matthew said. They are pretty good. But
all right, well, I'll go from 5 to 1. My number 5, and they changed their fry a little while ago because I used to not like their fries, but that's Wendy's. As long as they're salted well, I would take a Wendy's fry. Number 4 is Chick-fil-A. But I have to be kind of in the mood for Chick-fil-A fries. They're not obviously they make the top 3. Number 3 might be a little surprise. Nacho fries. If you ever tried these, they are awesome. Especially with the cheese dip. They will knock you out. First time I was like, I'm going to try that just for something different. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, where have these been all my life? Number 2, McDonald's, especially when they're fresh and salty and hot. Like you said, if they're cold or been sitting around a while, not so good, but fresh and hot. I mean, there's times where I have cravings just for McDonald's fries. But number 1, I agree with you, Five Guys, but especially the Cajun fries. Yeah. Those are my favorite. Oh, yeah. So if I get the Cajun fries with some malt vinegar, like that is the way to go. So yeah, something different. Like I said, top 5. We're gonna do top 5 different things. Let us know what you think. What are your top 5 French fries? Put them in the comments below. So quick recap. First episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow this along. We're going to try to come to you at least once a week, especially during football season, talking about, recaps, key matchups, just different things that have happened throughout the week. Next show, we're going to, like I said, talk about, some of the key matchups that we talked about. And in this league, it's so crazy. You never know what's going to happen from one day to the next. You never know who's going to get fired or traded or injured or whatever. So, we hope you like the episode. Hope you like what we're going to bring you. The name of the show, Generational Talent. If you like it, please give us a subscribe, give us a like, comment, anything that you want us to talk about, anything that you would recommend for the next top 5. Any questions that you might have. Maybe you don't really know anything about football and you're like, how does this work? Or, a question that you want us to answer on the show, drop that in the comments below. But, we appreciate you joining us. Matthew, Ethan, just quick recap and take.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for listening. I'm super excited to get this project off the ground. We've been talking about this for months at this point. Every time we have a conversation, whether like Dad mentioned at the beginning, whether it be in the pool or in the kitchen or sitting on the couch, every time Dad says, this could be a podcast topic. This could be a podcast topic. So I'm really excited to get this off the ground, and it's good to just be able to sit here with 2 of my favorite people and just be able to talk football for an hour. Talk sports in general for an hour, because obviously this was football heavy, but eventually we'll get into the other sports.
Yeah, and we're going to hit on other things. We'll hit on baseball. We got, the AL and NLCS going on right now. Here's a quick question. Starting. I asked Ethan this earlier today. Do you think Fox, who has the World Series, would rather see the Yankees and the Mets play or the Yankees and the Dodgers play?
I think Yankees and the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I think the Dodgers are. Yeah, I think Ohtani. Yeah, the Dodgers for sure.
I don't think either one of them they'll be mad at. Obviously, true. Subway Series 2, Mets, Yankees. But, the Dodgers have Ohtani, probably the best player in the game. I don't think it's arguably more.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, either one I'm going to watch. So, we'll talk some baseball. We'll talk some basketball, even a little hockey once in a while.
About to start. Just started.
And, hockey season just started. College basketball when that gets going. So, yeah, we'll touch on those things. Maybe we can talk a little Caitlin Clark. You never know. Trying to bring a different demographic in. But yeah, I appreciate it. Ethan, you got any takes?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate, whoever's watching. But yeah, I'm really excited to get this off the ground and really put all our minds together, because I feel like, you know, we definitely care about sports, and we've taken a lot of time to talk about sports throughout the years. And you know, it's going to be fun to bounce ideas off of each other and really see what we can come up with. So I think it will be fun.
Yep.
You know.
And I just want to thank you guys for taking the time out to do this with me. You know, it's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I've always loved talking about sports ever since I was little. I was one of those kids that could have full conversations with adults about sports and break down statistics. And I'm the weird guy that in the bar, I can tell you every single Super Bowl winner and loser. You can ask these two. I've won bar bets because of that. You know, and as my son-in-law says, I'm a little autistic because of that. But you know, hey, I think everybody's maybe on the spectrum a little bit. But we appreciate everybody watching, and we're gonna be back next week. Like I said, recapping week 7 of the NFL, any other thing that's out there, and we're gonna catch you next time.
Thanks for watching or listening.
Thanks, guys.